At 5 in the morning, my world exploded literally. A silver Mustang plowed straight through my cedar fence wood and dirt flying like shrapnel. And instead of apologizing the driver, my neighbor's son told the cops. I should pay him. His mother, the HOA president herself, swore my fence had jumped out into the road. But that night ended with their car on a tow truck, and the beginning of their downfall. Act 1. The Fence That Attacked. I live on Oak Street. Quiet suburb, manicured lawns, the kind of place where the biggest drama should be a recycling bin left out too long. My wife Sam and I had settled here for peace. What we got instead was war. The sound wasn't an alarm, it was a crunch. Loud final. I jumped out of bed before my eyes were even open. Sam was already awake, phone glowing in her hand. We pulled the blinds, and there it was, a silver Mustang smashed into my fence, steam rising in the cold morning air. And who stumbled out of the driver's side? Brad Dawson, the teenage menace of our neighborhood, son of Karen Dawson, our HOA president and self-appointed suburban queen. Sam whispered, "Call 911. I nodded. Single vehicle crash, property damage, disoriented driver, facts only. She pulled up the door cam, our backup weapon. By the time I stepped outside, Brad was leaning on the trunk of his wrecked car, eyes glassy, mumbling, "Crazy, right? Your fence. It just jumped out." I didn't answer. I just crossed my arms and stared at the skid marks carved into the street, black rubber leading directly to the smoking hole where my fence used to stand. The evidence was written right there on the asphalt. And then, like some B-movie villain, she appeared. Karen Dawson stormed down the street in a silk robe, finger already pointed. "Cole, what did you do? You set up a trap fence too close to the road. My Bradley could have been killed." I almost laughed. "Morning, Karen. Your boy just test drove my fence." Her face twitched panic, then rage. She planted herself between me and the wreck. "You'll replace every board by sundown, or I'll fine you daily." "Absolutely," I said flatly. "Right after your son brings my fence back in one piece." Sam leaned out the window, cheerful as a news anchor. "Smile. Karen, you're on 3 cameras. Wave to the cloud." Karen hissed, clutching her robe. "You can't film me without consent." "This is a public street," I replied. "Your robe is a private choice." And right on cue, a police cruiser pulled up. Blue lights, no siren. The officer scanned the scene, then asked what happened. Karen rushed forward like she'd been rehearsing all night. "Officer, thank goodness. This man has an illegal trap fence. It attacked my son's car. He must pay for damages and emotional distress." The cop blinked slowly, turned to me. "This your property?" "Yep. Woke me up 10 minutes ago." Then he turned to Brad. "Son been drinking tonight," Brad muttered, "no way too fast." The officer leaned in, sniffed the air, then ordered a sobriety test. Brad could barely walk a straight line. And when the second cop popped open the car, his flashlight found the real treasure nitrous oxide canisters, used whippets, and a burner phone. Karen shrieked, "This is harassment! He's the victim!" The officer's voice dropped to steel. "Ma'am, step back now." Brad was cuffed. The Mustang got hooked up to a tow truck. And Karen. She stood on the curb screaming while her perfect suburban image shattered under the glow of yellow tow lights. You'd think that would have been the end. But I knew. This was just the opening shot. Act 2. The War of Fines and Secrets. A week later, I found a fluorescent HOA notice stapled to my mailbox, illegal in itself. Daily fines until I corrected the dangerous eyesore. Karen wasn't just mad, she was weaponizing the HOA. She blasted the community forum with photos of my destroyed fence, cropped carefully to hide the Mustang-shaped hole. "Public safety alert," she wrote. "Non-compliant structures attract chaos." Sam fired back. She uploaded the crash footage and posted a poll. Did the fence jump? Options: no or also no. Within minutes, neighbors were piling on. Even Mike, the guy obsessed with his lawn, commented, "Aggressive fence remains domesticated." The votes were a landslide. Karen's post turned into a meme. But for me, the laughter didn't erase the knot in my stomach. The fines were real. The harassment was real. I sat at the kitchen table one night staring at the pile of letters. "Maybe we should just pay it, rebuild, let it go," I muttered. Maybe I'm the problem here dragging this out. Sam looked at me firm. Cole, stop. If we cave, she wins. We have proof, we have the truth. You're not the problem, she is. I wanted to believe her, but doubt gnawed at me, until we discovered something that flipped the entire game. First, the Amazon delivery driver Marcus shared dash cam footage from the night before the crash. It showed Brad's Mustang plus a Honda and a Subaru revving like they owned the street. Then came the burner phone. Police traced pings straight to the HOA clubhouse, the same building Karen controlled. Sam and I launched a drone over the clubhouse at night. The feed lit up our screen thermal images of modified cars, glowing hot kids milling around. And then, clear as day, Brad Dawson unlocking a side door with a bar master key. I whispered, "How does a teenager have that key?" Sam's face hardened. Because his mother gave it to him. That was the moment the fence feud became something bigger. Karen wasn't just covering for her son. She was enabling an entire racing crew using HOA property as their garage. We had evidence, but evidence alone doesn't end people like Karen. They twist, deflect blame. To win, we needed a plan she couldn't escape. Sam grinned. What do street racers always need? Partswise said slowly. And that's how Drift King 77 was born. A fake seller profile. A too-good-to-be-true deal on high-performance injectors. It didn't take long. Username Subi02 messaged, "Yo, still got the injectors. Cash ready." We set the beta meet at Home Depot off Route 9, 10 p.m. But this wasn't just us anymore. I called Detective Miller from the County Traffic Division. We handed him everything: videos, screenshots, drone files. He listened, then said, "Mr. Maddox, you've done more legwork than half my rookies. Don't go to that meet. We'll take it from here." So we waited. In the dark, phones, silent hearts pounding. Had we just sparked a sting operation? Would Karen realize who set the trap? Act 3. Karen's collapse. At 10:15 p.m., Miller texted blue Subaru on scene. Watching. Minutes later, Honda, Mustang, group forming. Then moving in. I pictured it their surprise as unmarked vans boxed them in uniforms flooding the lot. Brad frozen like a deer, his buddies scattering only to get tackled by professionals. The report came later, stolen plates, stolen parts, and in Brad's own handwriting a ledger of every race, every bet, every theft. It was game over. But Karen wasn't done swinging. At the next HOA meeting she tried one last ambush. She called me out announcing thousands in fines for property neglect. She wanted my public shaming. I stood up slowly, manila folder in hand. First, I said calmly, placing the police report on the table, my fence wasn't neglected. It was destroyed when your son crashed into it under the influence. Her smile faltered. Second, I laid down the insurance claim, and contract repairs are pending your insurance company's approval. Not mine. Her face flushed red. And third, I pulled out the inspection and HOA approval form signed 3 years ago by none other than Karen Dawson herself. This fence was fully compliant when you approved it. Gasps rippled through the room. I turned to the neighbors. This isn't about fences. This is about retaliation. Our president is abusing her power to punish me for exposing her son. Silence. Then murmurs. Then questions fired at Karen from her own board. Her allies stared at their papers, avoiding her eyes. Karen slammed the gavel, shouting, "Out of order." But the room had turned. A quiet accountant named George called for a vote of no confidence. The hands went up, one by one, unanimous. Karen's reign ended in that beige clubhouse, not with applause, but with the sound of chairs scraping as people walked away from her. And in court, the final nail landed. Evidence piled high, from police body cams to the stolen plate stash. The prosecutor read excerpts from Brad's ledger aloud. When Karen tried to defend him, the cross-examination crushed her records, showed she'd signed out the master key, never reported it missing. She cracked on the stand. Her power evaporated. Her son convicted, their perfect suburban facade shredded in public. And me, I just sat there watching the queen of the HOA reduced to silence.